Right now, somewhere in your city, someone is crying, and at this exact moment, that person is doing something no dog, no cat, no chimpanzee, no dolphin, no elephant, no other animal on earth is capable of doing: emotional tears, crying because you feel something. That is uniquely, bizarrely, exclusively human, and we have no idea why. Every other animal can whimper, they can howl, they can produce tears from irritation, from dust, from pain. But sitting alone at 2 in the morning, crying because a movie got you, because you missed someone, because something was just too beautiful, that is yours alone. You didn't get wings, you didn't get sonar, you didn't get the ability to breathe underwater. What you got, and only you got, was the ability to cry emotional tears, and scientists have spent decades trying to figure out why. Because the answer is nothing like what you think. Crying is not weakness. What happens when you cry is one of the most sophisticated biological processes in the human body. And what your tears actually contain would surprise you. Today, we're going back 5 million years to find out why humans became the only creature on Earth that ever learned to cry. Most people assume tears are just tears. They are not. Your body actually produces 3 completely different types. The first kind are basal tears, the ones your eyes are making right now, every hour of every day, whether you feel anything or not. They keep your eyes lubricated. They have nothing to do with emotion. The second kind are reflex tears. You walk past someone cutting an onion. Your eyes flood. A piece of dust hits your eye. Your body flushes it out automatically. This is a mechanical response. Chimpanzees have reflex tears. Dogs have reflex tears. Most mammals do. And then there is the third kind. Emotional tears. The ones you shed when you watch a wedding, lose someone, or feel so overwhelmed that your body can't contain it. These are chemically different. Scientists analyzed emotional tears and found something remarkable. Emotional tears contain prolactin, a hormone your body produces during high psychological stress. They contain leucine and kephalin, which is one of your body's natural painkillers. They contain elevated manganese, which is linked to anxiety and mood. When you cry, you are not just expressing emotion. You are physically pushing stress hormones out of your body through your eyes. Your tear ducts are, in a very literal sense, a pressure release valve, a chemical relief system that no other species on Earth ever developed. The question is why? What survival advantage does crying for emotional reasons actually give you? Here is what makes emotional crying so strange from a survival standpoint. Crying should have been eliminated by evolution. You cannot run effectively when you are crying. Your vision is blurred. You are broadcasting vulnerability to every predator within range. In the ancient world, a crying human looked like an easy target, and yet, emotional crying did not just survive millions of years of evolution. It was preserved, reinforced, and refined until it became one of the defining features of being human, which means it must have been extraordinarily valuable. The question is what it was valuable for. The most compelling current theory is that emotional crying evolved as a social signal, specifically designed to be seen by others. Notice this: you cry significantly more when you are with other people than when you are alone. Studies put the ratio at roughly 3 to 1, 3 times more likely to cry in front of someone than in isolation. That is not a coincidence. Crying is a communication system. Before language existed, before any way to say, I am in pain, or I need the group, or I am not a threat, visible emotional tears communicated all of it, instantly, across a distance. The blurred vision, the vulnerability it broadcasts, the complete inability to appear threatening. That is the point. A crying human cannot fight effectively. Crying was the universal white flag, the ancient signal that said, I need help, I need closeness, I am not coming for you. In a world before words, this was a language that could save your life. Here is the part that will reframe everything you think you know about this. For most of human history, crying was not considered weakness. It was considered evidence of your humanity. In ancient Greece, the greatest warriors cried openly. Achilles wept when his closest friend Patroclus died, not quietly, not privately, but in front of his entire army. Nobody thought less of him. Odysseus cried at least 9 documented times in the Odyssey. He wept on beaches, on ships, in foreign palaces. These were the heroes. These were the men other men wanted to become. In ancient Rome, orators were trained to cry in court. Quintilian, one of Rome's greatest teachers of rhetoric, explicitly wrote that a speaker who wept was more persuasive, more credible, more deeply human. Weeping in public was a professional skill, a competitive advantage. Medieval knights cried before battles. Japanese samurai documented grief openly in poetry and correspondence. Norse warriors mourned loudly, across the ancient world, across cultures, across thousands of years. Men who felt things deeply and showed it were regarded as people of character and depth. The idea that men should not cry, that tears are unmanly, that real strength means showing nothing, is not ancient wisdom. It is not written into our biology. It is approximately 200 years old. It emerged in the early 19th century with industrialization, military expansion, and a new cultural model of masculinity built around suppression, productivity, and silence. We did not discover that crying was weak, we decided it, and then we forgot we decided it. Here is what actually happens inside your body when you cry. The moment an emotional wave starts, your sympathetic nervous system activates. Heart rate increases. Breathing shallows. Your body enters a mild stress state, the same system that fires during a physical threat. This is the part most people try to stop. This is what suppression targets. But if you let it happen, if you don't fight it, something shifts. Within roughly 90 seconds, your parasympathetic nervous system takes over. Heart rate slows, breathing deepens. The stress chemicals that triggered the wave begin clearing from your bloodstream. Your body moves from activation to recovery. This is why you feel better after a genuine cry. Not just emotionally, physically, the chemistry changes. The hormones that were building up leave through your tears. The pressure releases. And here is where suppression backfires. When you hold back tears, jaw tight, breath forced, muscles locked, you stop the release. The stress hormones don't leave. The prolactin stays, the manganese stays, the nervous system stays in activation mode, waiting to complete a cycle that never finishes. Suppressing a cry is not strength, it is a delay, and every delayed cycle adds to the load your body carries forward. There is a reason humans throughout history cried at funerals, at rituals, at rites of passage. It was not theatrical, it was biological maintenance, a structured release of accumulated pressure built into culture because the body needed it. Your ancestors understood something about your nervous system that took modern science 2 centuries to document. Think about what we did with that. We took the only species on Earth with a built-in biological mechanism for chemical stress relief through emotional crying, and then we built a culture that spent 200 years training half of those people never to use it. Men report emotional experiences at roughly the same frequency as women in most studies. The feelings are not absent, the suppression is. Boys learn early, through culture, through peers, through authority, that crying is not something they do. Not here, not like this. Men die younger than women in almost every country on Earth. Researchers point to risk behavior, delayed healthcare, occupational hazard. But another factor, consistent across studies, is emotional suppression. And chronic suppression has a physiological cost. Elevated cortisol, reduced immune response, long-term stress that the body never gets to release. We inherited from evolution the most sophisticated emotional pressure release system on the planet. We spent 200 years telling an entire group of people it was a character flaw. And the children who were told not to cry, they became the adults who feel nothing or feel everything all at once with nowhere for it to go. So, the next time you cry, in your car, in a dark movie theater, alone at 2 in the morning over something you cannot fully explain, here is what is actually happening. You are running a program that evolution spent 5 million years writing. You are activating the only emotional tear system in the animal kingdom. You are clearing stress chemicals from your bloodstream. You are sending a signal that humans have sent to each other since before language, since before fire, since before we had any words at all for what we felt. You are doing something that no dog, no cat, no chimpanzee, no elephant can do. That is not weakness. That is the most distinctly human thing you can possibly do. For most of human history, the people who cried openly, the warriors, the philosophers, the great orators, were not seen as broken. They were seen as fully alive. They cried because they were strong enough to feel things completely, because they didn't need to pretend. You are the only animal on Earth with this system. Evolution selected for it because it worked. 5 million years of refinement handed you something extraordinary. The next time someone tells you crying is weakness, or the next time you tell yourself, remember what you now know, you are doing something every other creature on this planet cannot do, not because they choose not to, because they biologically cannot. That is not something to suppress. That is something to understand. New video every week. Subscribe if you want to know what else we got wrong about the world we live in.